Well, welcome back. Our next guest is James Lansberry. He's president of the Alliance of Health Caring Sharing Ministries. He's also vice president of Peoria-based Samaritan's Ministry International. And perhaps you've read some of his articles in the Heritage Forum, the Journal of the Modern Ministry, and has been interviewed by CBS and a lot of the other large media. But now he's made it because he's on the Dove. So, James, nice to have you with us. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, you bet. Well, fascinating times in which we live with as it relates to healthcare. But before we get into that, tell us about Alliance of Healthcare Sharing Ministries. What is it?
Well, sure. Healthcare Sharing Ministries are non-insurance ministries that coordinate families sharing one another's medical burdens without using insurance. And so we have over 100,000 families, over 100,000 people nationwide who are taking part in ministries like this, the main ministries that are part of the Alliance of Healthcare Sharing Ministries. And so it's a trade organization that helps these small nonprofit ministries gain some footing in the public policy realm.
Wow. And how's it going?
And things have been going very well. We're very excited about this. We were able to, by sheer grace of God, see an exemption language for the individual mandate get put into the Affordable Care Act, and we're very thankful for that. So our members will be able to continue with these non-insurance charitable options even after the individual mandate kicks in next year without penalty.
All right. Well, it seems, James, that the ObamaCare has fallen apart. I mean, what's your thoughts on what's happening?
Well, the main thoughts are that it's very obvious that despite the rhetoric that's been coming from the administration, that not everything is going as smoothly as they have led us to believe up to this point. And that's, for most of the insiders, that's not terribly surprising, but the rhetoric has been consistently, no, we have all our I's dotted and our T's crossed, everything is on schedule. But this delay marks something amazingly large. The employer mandate is one of the three largest factors in the Affordable Care Act. And delaying that for a year is signaling that there's trouble that is under the surface of the implementation of this. Now, certainly the delay of the employer mandate is going to make the implementation simpler, but it's going to make it much more expensive. And that's going to be a big deal. And there's also arguable that the administration really doesn't have the legal authority to delay this. Congress has passed a law that says that both the reporting requirements and the mandate go into effect starting in January 1st. For them to delay it a year, they lack the authority for that. Whether or not there's going to be any complaints about that, I don't know whether there's any real standing for anyone to challenge that in court. But the issue is that the law's very clear on this, and hopefully there'll be some at least bipartisan effort to give them legal authority to delay that, maybe by even eliminating the mandate altogether.
Well, by delaying the mandate, this is the employer mandate provision there in the Obamacare, by delaying it until 2015, whether it was the cost or the technicality, it could have been political. I mean, all of those together, you know, probably created the mess.
Yeah, there's certainly some political end to this. Hearing stories of senators from Ohio who wanted to readjust the employer mandate penalties, at least how they were measuring full-time employees, because they were hearing from constituents that people were going to be getting their hours cut back to under 30 hours a week because that was the definition of full-time under the Affordable Care Act. And so the unintended consequences of a mandate like this are that employers are going to make decisions based on what's going to be best in the best interest of their company continuing to make a profit so they can continue operating. And so this mandate had some unintended consequences that will affect employment law, and that was really a big deal for a lot of congressmen and senators who really didn't want to see that happen to their constituents.
Not to mention an election year.
Right. And that does make a big difference.
Yeah.
I think that this is a nice opening, though, for those of us who'd like to see the Affordable Care Act either go away or some of the effects of it be mitigated in the industry. I think that this is a chance to see, hopefully, the employer mandate not just get delayed, but hopefully get completely repealed. I think that would certainly make the law a little smoother for most people. It would make it less of a job killer.
Yeah.
And so the effect on the economy would be much smaller. And it'd make things much simpler. If you have an employer mandate or an individual mandate, those two things are clean. When you have these crossed signals where employers have to cover insurance and individuals have to carry it, it makes things twice as complicated, if not 4 times as much.
All right. It just seems to be an oxymoron to call it Affordable Care Act when it's anything but. And quite frankly, and I want to be respectful here, but it appears at this moment, James, that everything that the president said about the Affordable Care Act is not true, especially how much it costs.
Well, the cost is certainly going to be variable, and there's never, ever been a long-term program that Congress has designed that has come in underneath its original CBO estimate.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. And so to say that something is deficit neutral when it's passed, that tends to be an accounting gimmick, and in every case, not just the case of the Affordable Care Act. And that's something that Congress does in order to make sure things seem more palatable to the American people. But this bill is going to be extremely expensive. The delay of the employer mandate is only going to make it more expensive, because not only are they going to lose the estimated $10 billion in penalties that they would have received for the first year from employers that weren't complying, but it's going to be much more difficult to gauge those premium assistance credits and who is going to be eligible for that based on whether or not they were offered a plan through their employer. And because of that, the amount of budget that's going to be taken up for those subsidies for individuals seeking plans in the exchange is going to be larger than it would have, which is going to blow the cost estimates out of the water for that as well.
So at the bottom line, how does this affect small business and maybe even small ministries?
Well, for small business and small ministries, it's only positive. If you don't have insurance for your employees right now, you're not going to be penalized for that in the coming days. You don't have to adjust anything. You've got at least a year to make an adjustment and figure out what you want to do with that, and whether you use that year to bank the savings so that you can afford the penalty in the future, whether you use it to call your congressman and ask for the whole repeal of the employer mandate. Those are options that are in front of you. It also gives you another opportunity to pursue something like a healthcare sharing ministry for your staff. And that's where you continue to make Samaritan Ministries available to small organizations, small ministries who are employing only Christians who want to have a faith-based, something consistent with their religious beliefs, healthcare option that is both affordable and cost effective, and it meets with all of their religious convictions. So that's really something that we want to see people look into, and this year of delay will give you some margin to be able to make that decision a little more carefully. We hope that the employer mandate is going to go away completely. We think that it's a really bad option for American jobs and for American corporations, big and small. And it just makes very little sense that even liberals, commentators like Ezra Klein, have agreed it's very poorly designed to accomplish its goal. And if it just went away, it would be better for the Affordable Care Act. It would be better for the American people. And that's something I think liberals, conservatives, and libertarians can all agree on. And so that's really what we'd like to see over the next 12 months, is a bipartisan effort to repeal the employer mandate completely so that we can then focus on the other issues that are going on, healthcare.
So on the healthcare sharing side of things that you're involved in, so you're encouraging employers and employees, or just employers, to put money into a pool for their employees?
Well, I think employers can make a lot of different decisions right now. I think with what healthcare costs are looking like, if you're in that 50 to 100 range, you may be better off just planning to pay the penalty when it actually takes effect and letting your employees make the best healthcare decisions for themselves, whether it be at the exchange or whether it be for something like a healthcare sharing ministry. And that's what I would encourage someone in that 40 to 100 range to be really seriously consider, because it's an affected and balanceable cost. That penalty is going to be plannable for, and your employees are going to be out there seeking an option that they're happy with, as opposed to you trying to play the benefits game. I think in the new day and age that healthcare benefits are going to be less of an issue for people who are trying to recruit new employees because of the exchanges, because of the subsidized plans that are going on there, because people are going to be looking for more of a portable healthcare option, which the exchange provides and employers don't. And so I think that's going to be less of an issue. You're better off paying your employees more and letting them make their healthcare decisions. And that's really a model that's better off for your staff from the get-go. The employer-centric system we have now is a big part of the problem in healthcare.
Right. Where is the HHS mandate now? Where is that sitting over the top of nonprofit organizations?
Well, that's still sitting there, and that's another reason why employers may want to just gut it out and pay the penalty when it comes effect, rather than sign up for an insurance policy that's going to cover things that they disagree with. Right now, that HHS mandate for all organizations that for $100 a day penalty per employee, that you have to cover birth control, you have to cover the abortion pill, all of those mandated benefits are taking effect now. And the government has released its final rule, and there is no religious freedom exemption for organizations, whether you're private or public. And that's a really sad thing to see, that we've trumped on religious freedom that way. So even, a Roman Catholic hospital is going to have to provide birth control, which they find antithetical to their mission statement, to all their employees. And so for a Christian organization looking at that, that's an additional reason to choose something like Healthcare Sharing Ministries, pay the penalty if it takes effect. And you can find out more about healthcare sharing at SamaritanMinistries.org. And we'd love to talk to you about how you can craft a plan for your staff, or to help your staff find better options that are consistent with their own religious beliefs.
Okay, again, that's healthcareshareministries.org. Check it out. James, do you think it's possible, the Affordable Care Act slash ObamaCare seems to be so upside down, and the approval rating continue to fall? Do you think it's possible they just defund it? I mean, I know it's a law, but how could they nullify it? They just defund it? What would they do?
Well, yeah, it'd be very difficult to defund, because it has been passed and there is some administrative leeway to be able to spend appropriations, and that's going to be very difficult for them to do. There's several case laws that are still in place. Oklahoma's filed suit against the particular issue related to whether subsidies are available in federally based exchanges as opposed to state-based exchanges. That suit's probably going to take a couple of years to work itself out in the courts. And so they're still up in the air whether or not the IRS ruling that subsidies would be available in both exchanges, despite the law seeming to read the entire opposite. So there's several implementation issues that are still being litigated right now. And so that's a big deal. I think for the administration and for Congress right now, one of the best face-saving things they could do is look for a bipartisan way to clean up the bill, including a repeal of the employer mandate. That's something both sides of the aisle could agree on right now, and then see what happens as the chips fall out from that.
Well, fascinating and troubling at the same time. Again, it's healthcareshareministries.org. Check it out, and there might be some great resources there for you to consider. Thank you, James, for what you guys do. Let's stay in touch on this. Let's see if the can gets kicked down the road maybe another year, huh?
Yep, it's certainly possible. Well, thanks for having me today. And again, you can find us at SamaritanMinistries.org. Have a great day.
All right, God bless you. Okay, SamaritansMinistry.org. All right, blessings to you. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.